not actually sure. And before we actually went on, Francois said he spent 9 hours every day for 5 years, or I think it was 5 hours for 9, I can't remember,
More or
learning
less.
about the truth. And Francois is going to hopefully share that with us. So
Yes. Hello,
let's go
everyone.
on.
Hello to all the
Francois,
listeners. And yeah, hello to everybody listening. Hello to all the South Africans out there. And yeah, in order to give you kind of a synopsis of who I am or where I came from, I'd like to just go into a quick history of my experience in this thing we call life. So I was born in South Africa in 1983, in Joburg, to a South African or Christian Afrikaner family, with big Christian values. My father was a businessman, and my mother was a organist for the church. So we were very religious. And yeah, went to Randburg Primary School. During primary school, around about 1995, 96, my mom was severely attacked in our house, which which opened up the violence experience of the average South African, which I do think a lot of people have experienced violence and either hijacking and things like that, which I've also experienced.
yeah,
After that, it was very difficult for my parents to stay together. My dad passed away. My parents got divorced when I was in standard 7. I moved in with my dad, and my dad passed away when I was 18, just after I matriculated. And that was a difficult thing in my life. You kind of put your parents as your icons in life, and when those icons
yeah,
go, it's a paradigm shift. Your whole paradigm falls apart. The foundation that you have in your life is all of a sudden not there. And I think it's trauma and grief really is a good, not a good thing, but it's something that makes people switch their perspective in order to see what is going on in this world. So I was very dark and trying to find my way around. I did study at RAU, entrepreneurial. I've always had an entrepreneurial background, which pretty much started in primary school. I was a newspaper delivery boy when I was 13, pamphlets, Penswell go-karts at the Randburg waterfront, working as a waiter just after that, basically working throughout in order to gain my pocket money in order to sustain and buy things that I wanted. So I've always had an entrepreneurial background, and I wanted to continue that with an entrepreneurial background. But due to the situations in my life, it was kind of difficult for me to just pick up and study when I had so much on my mind. So I didn't do very well in that first year. Second year, I continued the studies with UNISA, and needed to have a little bit more self-discipline, not quite there yet. Did the engineering studies in the city of Tshwane. After that, then I became a bartender while I was studying. From bartending, I did IT support. From IT support, I did financial services for 7 years. And that's where my career path, I think, started with doing a lot more research into any kind of language. Like legal is a language, financial services is a language, the medical field has its own language. And I studied a lot in the financial services in order to have the correct information. I was very young when I went into financial services, and giving financial advice at such a young age is it's quite daunting on people that are a lot older than you. When you want to try and explain to them where to invest, you really have to know what you're talking about. So financial services I did for about 7 years, and then I bought a scrapyard in Maritzburg, and which is completely different. But so many of the things applied in my scrap metal business that was relevant in the situation. Scrap industry is very much like farming. It's a numbers game. If you do it correctly and you can make sure that your margins are correct, you can maintain a good value for the client and for yourself. Unfortunately, that industry is just heavily corrupted. And at the end of another 7 years, I decided that it's not something that I want to carry on pursuing. Had a little bit of trouble with staff theft a little bit, and it was the whole COVID era that we went through and the lockdowns and looking after just over 20 employees by that stage. It was a big financial strain. In the end of 2022, in 2022, I decided to close the business, and I was seeking for somebody to take over the business. With the economic conditions in South Africa, it was a lot of up down, and I eventually tried to sell the assets to a buyer, who then opened up the business, and unfortunately, I never got my money out of it, and that's another legal thing that's carrying on. From there, I've done obviously a lot of research in terms of thinking what industry is good to go in, and the the scrap metal industry gave me a very good data analytic in order to see what is going in the market, what's doing well in the market, where you've got manufacturing, you've got all the different sectors of the market bringing their scrap waste to you, recycling waste, and you can see which ones are performance and which ones are not. And it was clear to me then with the whole load shedding that the manufacturing sector in South Africa pretty much lost a third within the first 6 months, and probably more than that for that 2-year period of people that cannot compete with China. So it was a bit of a unstable environment that I didn't want to see myself in, dealing with cash and also the corruption with the police. I
If I
don't
may
pay
just
bribes, and I'm ethical. Yes.
let me just interrupt. Manufacturing in
Yes.
general, right? I've seen
Yes.
China in the past, let's say, since COVID, but I mean, obviously they've been a manufacturing force for a very long time. But the past 5 years, it seems like they've really refined the supply chains to sort of directly go straight to consumers. So normally a manufacturing business, right? They would buy something from China, import it, put a markup, have a fancy marketing campaign, then sell it to you at double the price. But now China just says, well, we'll just cut out the middleman entirely and we'll just sell it directly to consumers through Temu or Shein or Alibaba or whatever the case might be. So for anyone to be manufacturing of sort of ordinary goods, I would suspect it's almost impossible unless you buy the Chinese product and mark it up, right?
South Africa's still got a very, very strong manufacturing sector, and the guys really stay-proofed themselves in order to maintain in the market. There will always be a need to produce a quality product here. When you're going to order from China, you're going to get what you paid for. It's always going to be a flimsy little thing, and I think that's also by design. We're battling with fixing things. I don't know how often you got to fix the locks on your house, where you put in a new lock and 2 years later that lock needs replacing again because the quality of the products are just not what they used to be.
Well,
And
I think that was the case, but a small example. I know someone who used to manufacture drilling material, right? He started it many years ago, made lots of money from it, sold it all over Africa. I mean, to get what he needs costs X, right? And he sells to the customer at X plus 30%. The Chinese are bringing in the same product in terms of quality, in terms of everything, at a third of the price into South Africa and selling it. People are, of course, going to go for that product, and it's not breaking sooner. It's not worse. It's basically the same
how can
product.
how can they afford it? That's the question.
Because the economies of scale is that you go for a loss for as long as you can until you have market share, and then you increase the prices. It's what Uber has done for the longest time. It's what everyone does. All the
So
BYD
who's
cars that you see,
carrying?
Chinese cars, they're selling it for a loss on purpose. They can
Yes.
take out the competition, and when you're the only person there, you have 40% market share, then you can start to increase the prices.
So
It's very
who's
normal.
funding that loss?
Well, the Chinese state is obviously.
And South Africa's not funding any losses like that.
Amazon, they're allowing it,
So if you
right?
look at the PIC, would you not say that the PIC is a conflict of interest? To be
In what way?
well, suppose you've got your state, and your state invests into companies that do get tenders for state enterprises
Yeah, of course, it's a racket.
for
Yes.
farewell schemes and all that. Yeah, but that's a racket. This has been going on with all the countries where they literally print their own funds, pump up the economy off the buying the shares from their listed companies, and they know that they'll control the listed companies because all their assets are already in the listed companies.
Yeah.
So, and I'm talking about assets in terms of the placements of those, the World Economic Forum leaders. I mean, I suppose that would be the best way to get into one of those companies where you go into a higher position. You need to be part of the club. And then they buy it. And what does that do for the middle medium sector? It actually puts a lot of strain on them.
No, but if you're trying to
concentrate,
right, we're living in a world of essentially fascism, not politically, but economically. What is fascism?
Communism.
And corporate power together. That's what neoliberalism has become, right?
It's like communism. It's nothing different.
No, well, communism is very different. The state owns everything. It's a very different thing. This is the state and the corporates work together to own everything. It's a bit of a difference.
So it's all part of a Marxist philosophy, if we put it that way. Now, what I try and do with the research that I do in the 9 hours is not just listening to videos and podcasts, but I actually go and research. I've bought a ton of old books, and you go back to the 1800 books, gone into chronology, archaeology, all of those different fields where you can actually attain something that's got a chronological marker and dating. And going from bookstores to find things. This is a little book that I found at a little bookstore, which is quite interesting because this is a kind of ideology that was taught in to, this is actually St. John's College. I'm not going to say whose book it is because I don't know. I don't want anybody to get in trouble. But essentially what it says in here is that on the dialectic is a philosophy, introduction philosophy, it's in the preface. There we go. This volume was originally prepared by the Leningrad Institute of Philosophy as a textbook in dialectic materialism for institutions of higher education directly connected with the Communist Party, and also for use in the Technical Institute with corresponding to universities in Great Britain. So it's very interesting that we do have that underlying. This was taught to the people who are now pretty much in position and directors of companies in South Africa at that time frame. So you're looking at about 70s that it was installed. And it just breaks down the mindset of that individual, thinking as a collective, not as an individual. And that was when I came on and spoke to you first. I think what the most important thing is for people to find out who they are so that they can disconnect themselves from what's commonly known as dungeon programming, the default programming that your education system gives you in the indoctrination for 12 years. And then we become a matriculant. And once you become matriculated, you are now put on the register, and you go and see that you're on the register in the newspaper, and then you are now part of the matrix, and you can now try and find yourself a job or higher your education with a bit more indoctrination.
There's lots there.
Okay. Yes.
When you say we need to find out who they are, who are they? Who are you talking to about?
Well, every single individual is an individual that has got a soul presence. Your mind. You're not your body, your physical. Your physical is one part of your avatar that brings you around. Now, we are physical. My family lineage is something that I've also done quite a bit of research on. And from my father's side, it goes back to 1699, as the Kamffer family actually being the first to farm wine in Stellenbosch. So we were the first successful farmers for wine production in South Africa. Lawrence Kamffer was the stem father in that lineage. I think in English you call it Afrikaans is the stem father. From there, the family lineage went all the way, obviously, to where I'm today. Some changes on the surname, the way that was spelt, going from the Dutch to the British, and from German to Dutch to begin with as well. Now, I mean,
Francois,
that's one
I'm sorry to interrupt.
lineage.
Yeah. So
Yes.
who are they? When you say we need to find out who they are, who are they? Why do you have the answer for us?
Yes.
Can you
Well,
describe
first of all, if okay, let's break it down to this. You are your mind, you are your body, and you're your soul. Those things are things that you can't, in a sense, choose. Like I said last time, did you have a choice where you were born? Did you have a choice when you were born? And did you have a choice to whom you were born? Yet we classify people in those categories as saying, okay, awesome, you're South African, therefore you belong to the Corporation of South Africa, which was registered in 1910, and here's your birth certificate, you are now South African. And people identify with that as South Africa. And people pull their nose up to South Africans across the board because of the propaganda that was fed to the Americans and the British during the apartheid era. And I'm not saying apartheid was right, but it was a way of living, and all the communities had their own space. Um, if I sorry,
So I'm going to ask again.
yes, again, yes,
Be precise.
yes.
Yeah.
Who are
Who
they?
are yes? Who are you
Who are
describing?
we?
Is it no?
So
You said
an
we must find out
individual,
who they are.
they,
No. Listen. I'm being
the
precise here.
average person.
No, you're talking about people that control everything. You're talking about people that
No,
control through
I was referring.
this Marxist philosophy.
No, the they who I'm referring to is where people forgotten is not those people who are controlling it, and there's no one person that's controlling it. It's a whole network of groups that are. I mean, you can go through the
Which groups?
Rockefeller or the Jesuits or the Maltese Cross or all of those different entities are part of the big club, and those are the controllers, is if you have it so in this realm that is changing things. If voting changed the outcome, voting would be illegal,
And tell that
don't
to
you
El
think?
Salvador. Tell that to Hungary. I don't know. It seems like voting works in those areas. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think voting is bullshit in most ways. I'm not a Democrat. But I think
Yeah.
in some ways there is a real change with voting, right? Or are you saying even that's
Mm,
controlled?
completely. If that did make a change, they wouldn't allow it to happen. So yeah, no, voting is basically, and that's why you got to vote with a cross, right? So if you go into the bank and you say, listen, yeah, I'm illiterate, I can't fill in this form, but I want to open up a bank account. They're going to help you open up a bank account, and at the bottom they're going to say to you, listen, yeah, I need you to just sign it. I know you can't sign, but what you need to do is just make a cross at the bottom. That's what you would
Mm-hmm.
do. You would show that, here, I'm illiterate. And that's the exact same thing that you do when you go voting. You're showing, I'm illiterate, I can't think for myself, and I'm going to give my illiteracy to somebody else to think for me and decide what's good for me. Now, the average person falls inside that they think that they're part of a collective, and therefore the collective would be able to think for them. So when I talk about the they, I'm more talking about the individual that thinks that they're part of a collective. because they haven't really done the work to search for who they are. And those are the people that get really upset when you challenge their worldviews, when they are tied to that collective. So you
So
are
you
South
propose?
African.
So
Okay.
are you proposing? Right. So I have a friend who's a philosopher. His name's Jason. Right.
Yes.
And I don't know how
Okay.
he writes like science fiction books on Amazon and he makes money from it. And anyway, but his great philosophical idea is that groups don't exist. And I cannot remember the arguments for it. But when I spoke to him about it, like it made complete rational sense why he argues groups don't exist.
Yes.
Rationally, that's 100% correct.
So Ayn Rand
Socially,
has a very
economically, politically, it's absolute fucking chaos if you believe groups don't exist. Right. If you have atomized individuals running around the world, not forming any form of groups whatsoever, it's going to be just absolute Mad Max chaos.
yeah. There's
Right?
that's the theory behind it, but is it not Mad Max Chaos already?
Yeah, of course.
How much? So, if I had to be the controller of if I had to be the nefarious one to control this, what I would try and do is to program people in three different ways. One, not to know who they are. Two, not to know where they are. And three, not to know when they are. So, if you have somebody in a bubble thinking that um, all of those collectives, and then they need to become something, because that's the first thing you say to your children. And what do you want to become? As if being who you are is not the most important thing. You take away the individual, you start programming them into the program mentality. Then you take them into a school and you say, here's your uniform, you're going to dress like everybody else, you're going to stand in line, and after you go into the class, we're going to close the door, and then the person in front is going to dictate to you what is and what is not, without challenging it, because we've already gone through this. And if you're going to
Have you
send
met
your children
someone?
to a Roman school, they're going to come back
Francis,
Roman soldiers. Yes.
1 second. 1 second. Have
Yes.
you ever met someone who is quote unquote truly free? I have. They call the homeless people. They call people on the side of the road that have nothing going for them. There is not one single person in this world who is truly free from any obligations or any connections to someone else. You can't do what you want.
Well,
There are standards and rules and
one,
uniform law in a
yes.
theoretical sense, not saying practically, but
Yeah.
to have a world where everyone is absolutely free is basically communist terrorism, right? It's orgies, it's drugs, it's blowing up ATMs because I want to feel something. I know that's not what you.
Those things are happening already, aren't they? Are those things
That's not,
happening with the system that we've got right now?
yeah, but no, but listen. You're not answering my question,
Yes.
right? The
Yes.
freest
Okay. What's the
person
question?
is always the worst one. There are obligations, natural obligations under Christianity, under Islam, under. Let's not even talk about politics. Let's just talk about social obligations under the older traditions to human life, to
Okay.
human beings through
Yes.
religion. There are always
So
those
yeah,
things. In some ways, you must always understand that no one is ever free. And that is the trade off of life, in essence, isn't it?
yeah. In essence, yes, but I think in freedom, when I try and explain to people, we need to look at the definition of freedom. It's to free your mind from beliefs that are not so. So it starts with the mind, and that's the same thing with health. If you want to get healthy, the first thing you need to do is change your mindset, thinking that you're sick. Most people think themselves into sickness, and then they live a sick life while they're poisoning themselves constantly with everything that is going to manifest into that ailment, and that is part of the mind as well. But once you detach from those um, beliefs, you can't get poisoned or deceived by them anymore. So if somebody tells you that you're being lied to, would you want to know about it, or are you just going to say no? There's nothing that's being lied to. Everything is perfect.
So, what are
Or
we being lied to
would you
collectively at
challenge
the
them?
moment? What are we being lied
Well,
to at the moment?
at
So,
the
like
moment,
nationality is not Yeah,
So
like just
would
order
you
when
say
I'm
that
saying,
would, yeah. So for instance, the COVID narrative.
yeah, but everyone knows it's
This,
bullshit.
well, okay, everybody knows it's bullshit, but we're still carrying on with it. They printed 500 billion starting
Yeah,
off with, which went up to 1 trillion, and people
yeah.
cannot put it in perspective because there's no perspective in dimension for people. So if we look at how much it cost to build the Gau train, the initial quote was, I think, 8 billion rand.
Mm-hmm.
We could have built 120 Gau trains just about with that, which we spent
Yeah.
after going over budget. They printed all of that, literally enslaving 2 generations who have to pay back that debt because of a system that we supposedly vote for. So yes,
Yeah.
they're lying about everything. They're lying about the statistics. People get censored online, and the government is mind control. That's the etymology of government, is mind control. And if you control the masses into that sense, you are going to serve your self-interests.
Well, yeah.
And
Welcome to
that's
political power,
exactly
my
what the
friend.
government's done. Yes, so
Welcome
you
to
saying that
political
people
power,
are
Francois.
corrupt, and if they're free,
No one thinks
we
this
can't
is
be
this is
free. We need to employ somebody else to choose our freedoms for us, and then that person's eventually gonna become a tyrant. It's gonna say, no,
yes,
it's like this or it's like
yes.
that.
Welcome to political leadership for the past 10,000 years. Shock horror.
No, well, not quite. Okay. So how are we going to
This is
debunk
what it
those
is.
and know which ones are lying to you and which ones are not?
Oh,
So,
really? Yes. Sorry. One
mhm.
second. Are you claiming that there are political structures or leadership structures around the world which are not lying to us? Because this I have to hear. I have yet to think of one.
No, I actually think Gaddafi did very well for his country. He looked after his people. Everybody had massive benefits before they ran a propaganda campaign and destroyed him when he wanted to go on his own gold standard. So these people are not here to try and have you have freedom. They're here to crush your freedoms and make you pay for it, and you will have a digital currency kind of thing. When people use the word free, they typically mean the idea that others will use for, on your behalf to keep you. Is that, did you bring that up?
I agree with Rowan. This is one of our live listeners. So I'll bring up comments every now and again into the show.
Yes, okay,
Just as a,
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's not my argument,
Yeah,
Rowan's
no,
argument, but
it's nice.
I tend to
No, thank you. I like to
sure.
see, well, I don't know if I can see the comments because I do want to interact as well if I can. There we go.
I'll
So
bring it up.
yes, there is a lot of the freedoms that we need to address. We need to use we're in a system. We adopted the system. We were born into the system that we adopted,
Sure.
and we haven't really questioned the system much. And nobody does that until pretty much, I would say, the age of 40, 42 is when most people actually start to get to the point where you've achieved all those goals in your life. You've created a family, you've built a house, you've built a business, and now you look around and you say, well, where are my kids going to? How is the future going to look for them in the system that we have? And you start researching the system. And a lot of people, they would just put that down as a midlife crisis, and it's a lot more than
Only
that. It is actually building into a new phase of your life, and our lives are in phases. You're born as an infant, you're a toddler where you still not really integrating with anything. Then you a minor for a period until you get of age of 21. You reach your adulthood when your wisdoms come out. That's why it's called the wisdoms. And then in the medical field, that's another thing. People are told, oh, your wisdoms are bad, let's pull them out. So
mine were bad. They were hurting me, so I did pull them out. But I still think we
okay.
sort of skirting on the issue here. Like, what is your central claim?
Yes.
What is the central thing you want people to know on this show?
Well, to think in perspective of time, if we look at the time in history that we've studied with the chronology, everything in the last 500 years is pretty much in the English, where English originated from. Before that, most of the transcripts and everything is Latin. We get the cuneiform tablets, and we get the fragments of the Hebrew text and all of the Greek and Roman and older archives that's in existence. When we look at that time frame on and one of the people that I've been learning a lot from is Jason Breshears, and he's done close to 3 decades of chronology, putting the time frames of different books and verifying data points in terms of chronological history that is verified. And we look at that chronological history to be verified, and we build up a timeline to see that we've got the crucifixion is in the first century. Then, from that time frame, the writings are coming from. You've got the Exodus in 1488 BC. You've got the Noah flood in 2239 BC, and that is pretty much where the sun worship in the religious view started. Before that, it was a vapor canopy. As in the Bible, there was no rainbows before that. So we had a different atmospheric condition. People grew bigger in that time. That's the time of Noah and the time of Enki. There were giants.
So yeah, okay. Right.
And then we're going back to yes.
Listen, sorry.
Yes.
I'm just going back to my original question. The question is, what is the central claim you're trying to make? And are you giving us historical accounts of giants and Noah's Ark? Like, what is the central claim? Like, what do you want people to know? That's what I'm looking for.
Well, what I want to know is what I was getting to is if you go back to that historical timeline, you go to 3895 BC. Now, this is just one program of or indoctrination where we get taught the history. You go back to 3895 BC as year 1 of Adam and Eve, making this the year 5919. Do you really believe that we only found this place 400 years ago?
What place?
South Africa.
I don't know.
The southern tip of Africa. It was a dark whatever. So you've been told this story of it's this dark place that you came out of, and that is one paradigm of the deception that's been inflicted on us, is to say that you've been coming out of the dark age. You believe in evolution.
By deception by who? I don't know what your central claim is.
Well,
and that's why
it's a little bit difficult. So the central claim is that we've been deceived, right? And if you don't think that you've been deceived, then by your initial programming. The initial programming is your education system that is teaching you a whole lot of things that is not so. And you can dive into it, and then you will see that those things are not real. So evolution, for instance. You've been taught that evolution, you evolved from a monkey. Does that make you insignificant? Of course it does. To say that you were just some accidental speck that boiled out of a pool with a thing that crawled up a tree and then eventually became a monkey and then came down, and here we are. Yet the monkeys are still around. There's no evolutionary evidence to show that there's bridging between species. There's subspecies, but there's no bridging between species.
Ancestor as monkeys. It's not from monkeys. I mean, that's the central claim, not that we be.
But there's no proof that there's no proof that there's an same ancestors as monkey. Which proof is that?
Well, if you go to the cradle of humankind, that's what they claim, and that's what they're pulling out of the fossils. I don't know whether it's true or not. But,
it's not true. Like it's more deception.
Why?
But that's where. Well, the people that want to control the masses, or
everyone control the masses all the time, Francois. It's nothing new under the sun. Welcome to civilization. How do you create a civilization? By taming the passions of man and controlling them. It's not new.
Okay. Yes, but that's exactly what I'm saying. You've been lied to. So they're controlling you. You are denying to see that they're controlling you, though.
I'm not denying.
Trying to pinpoint it, though.
You're trying to claim.
Okay, so
you're trying to claim that something that has been happening for 10,000 years since humanity has been around, or however long it is. I don't know, whatever you claim. Fine. That's exactly how you create order in the world. You control people. Like there's nothing new under the sun. There's deception involved, there's power involved, there's inflating the currency, there's propaganda. Yeah, welcome to human life, my man.
It's the
Welcome
same.
to human
No,
life.
it's the same cycle. It's the same cycle. But if we can see what's going on, we don't need to be deceived and follow through with everything, like
Okay,
the
let's change a little
digital
bit.
ID or
If,
going to.
which I'm all against, right? Completely.
Okay.
It's not within my power to stop it though. So now, if we are enlightened, what will we realize?
We'll realize that we are part of the creation, not apart from it. Everybody feels like they're an alien, and then they were came from the Pleiades and sent here, and we are parasites causing global warming and all of these things, which there's a lot of destruction, there's a lot of things. But when you start to go into becoming more enlightened, you're going to realize that you are part of the ecosystem and you will look after the ecosystem. And the pollution we see everywhere is because people have forgotten who they are. Therefore, there's
Agreed.
they're demoralized. They don't care about the land or the plants or the things around them. That is, yeah, that, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah. So I do think.
The
Listen. So
wild
let me just.
65, 70 is one of those people that think, yeah, I think this chap is a flat earther. And there we go. There's more of the people that are part of the group thinking. So if you're going to be part of that group thinking, you're going to classify people in certain mindsets as saying that, oh, yes, this is the box that you're in, because I can't make sense of what I'm seeing. I believe what I was taught in second grade, and I'm going to stick with it because I got A in second grade.
Well,
And that's what
that's pure
happens,
straw
is that
manning
people stay
from
within their
both
mindset.
sides, by the way. That's just pure straw manning from both sides. There are people who might disagree with you on real principles, right? On
No, no,
fresh
no,
principles,
definitely, definitely. No, that
which
is.
is
But I
what I
mean,
think I'm doing. I'm not saying I
yes,
disbelieve you. I
but
think you're struggling to
no,
articulate a central claim that is the basis of
yes.
this interview, and which is fine,
Okay, so
right?
the
And it happens to a lot of
yes,
people. I struggle with it too.
mm,
So I'm not
it's
demonizing you or anything like that. I'm just trying
yes.
to tease out what are you trying to actually tell us in a real way.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is that if we go back to the timeline up to 3895 BC, that is the
Mhm.
oldest record of civilization, what we know as the Adam and Eve event. There's no past behind there which is signed up. So when you look at ice ages, it's all a bunch of hokey pokey. There's no such thing as ice ages unless it's in an epoch before we had existence or writing or any chronological evidence. There's no reference resources. The ancient aliens and Graham Hancock and Michael Tellinger and those guys, they promote this ancient fallacy with the system that it's supposedly 9,600 years before Solon that we had this encounter in the events where uh, it's dating where they saw Atlantis being. And it's before an era where there was an existence or there was a Greece or there was manufacturing of any of the things related in the story. We look at those chronomarkers. Once again, you are being hoodwinked into thinking that's real. Um, Worldwide wrestling is just as real as politics are. If you're going to think that the politics are real, I don't know. Do you think that you had um, an option, or do you think that your option was that you might have sussed out too many things that weren't proof? There
All
is
right.
proof of
So,
in ice ages. There's no proof in ice ages. Sorry, I just have to quickly interject there.
go
Ice
ahead.
core drilling works on carbon dating. If that carbon dating is incorrect, it's they take 63 samples, and out of the 63, three of them they will put into their paper.
Yeah, I know nothing about ice
Well,
core drilling or something, so I'm going to
yeah.
thankfully not
So
partake in that. So
I could take a
let,
piece
let's
of wood, yes,
no,
and then
no,
I
no, I
can
have
put
one
it in
thing.
an acid dip. Yeah.
Francois, I have no interest in
Yes.
finding out how core samples work. Just by the way, so I mean,
Okay.
let's go back to my question. If
Yes.
we follow you on this path and we become enlightened, like you are,
Yes.
what are you going to realize
Yes.
about the world? What have you realized about the world other than it's all a lie? Okay, great. So what? Now what? Right? What is the future
Now what?
of the world?
So where do
If
we come
everyone
from
is
here? Well, then you have direct connection with a creator. Anybody that explains a creator that says this is how it is or this is who he is trying to give you explanation in terms of something, and that's the religious background in it. The big tenet is actually to try and know that the real faith is letting go, knowing that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be, otherwise it wouldn't be. And there are a lot of listeners that are afraid of standing up and saying when things are so, because you get the trolls that come and say, oh, no, I know because I've got a university degree. And it's great that you got a university degree. And there are guys that are Stephen Young, who is uh,
so
high
sorry,
learner that
I am sorry to
has
interrupt
come out,
once
and
again.
the group is growing bigger and bigger. So while this group is growing bigger and bigger of those that are enlightened, it's growing stronger and stronger. Unless you want everybody to go and stand in line for the next round of what?
Let me interrupt you. So essentially, you're a creationist, right?
Yes.
Well, there you go. Why didn't you say that from the beginning? Jeez, like this takes like 40 minutes to
Well,
just get to that.
no,
Now we can talk properly.
creationists puts it into a mindset of saying that's so. I'm a simulationist, a creationist, an errant. An errant is somebody that is out of error. So a simulationist, knowing that everything is exactly the way it should be, otherwise it wouldn't be. Most of the people that become enlightened start seeing it in their holography. You'll see numbers everywhere. Hence the 333, which is programmed into pretty much my birth date.
Okay, but
And
hold on. Okay,
everything is, yeah, I'm losing
so
you again.
God created everything in 7 days or whatever it is. My historical analysis is off at the moment, and therefore, if that is the case, you believe that there is just remind me, a simulation. So therefore, everything is predetermined. Is that correct, or am I incorrect?
Um, yes, I think everything's predetermined. The decisions that you think that you're going to make, you would have made already. I
I
don't
think
believe
that's
in
a terrible
accidents.
way. I think that's a terrible way to
Mhm.
think. What happened to free will? God gives us free will, my man, to become evil, right?
Yes, and you're
To sin.
experiencing the free will that you're exercising, but don't you think he knows the outcome?
Well, I think the outcome is largely left to people. No,
You don't. You think that have you made plans and then those plans realize, and those plans are either meant to realize or they're not. You get a change in your path, and that's a big thing of trying to wake up and getting out of this system is breaking those patterns, which gives you a bit more perspective. The pattern break is a really good thing, which is why we want to go on holiday at least once a year in order to just get yourself out of that pattern, because that pattern keeps you on that continuous loop.
so
Not that that's a bad thing.
if the path is predestined by God, right, as you
Mm-hmm.
claim,
Mm-hmm.
what is the point of anything then? What's the point of making decisions?
Well, you don't know
What's the
what the
point?
outcome is
What's
yet,
the
do
point of
you?
doing anything? What's the point
So
of doing?
if you had to build your own simulation, would you want to know what the outcome is going to be? You
Well, I
would
don't want to
want
build
to
a
keep
simulation.
that. Yeah, but you want if whoever created it, the creator would want to have the surprise factor in it. If you're not going to have the surprise factor in it, you're not going to have an interesting game. So if you play a
Yeah,
board
but
game, anything of that is hiding the end point. Otherwise, if the end becomes certain, there's no need to carry on with the game. It's the same
but I
thing,
refuse to believe
and
that the
it doesn't
creator.
mean that the end is certain. Nobody
But I
knows what's
refuse
going
to
to
believe.
happen because
Hold on. I refuse to believe the creator is a 8-year-old child with hamsters in a cage. just pushing different levers to figure out what's going on. Like, I
Why would you
refuse to
think
believe
that
that.
would be
Because
create
it's a
an
simulation.
8-year-old? That's really a low kind of blow. You
But it is. That's
you
exactly what
refuse to
you're saying.
believe there's an 8-year-old.
You're saying the creator is giving us all these different things to see how we would react without knowing what the end game is. That sounds very cruel. And the God that I know is none of those things.
Yeah, so who's the God that you know?
No, the Christian God, right? Jesus Christ, Mary, God Himself.
Well, which one?
The one I studied. There's only one. I'm not a
So there's a couple in the
polytheist.
book. Well, if you're going to go study the Bible's made up of 66 books. And if you're going to go and
Great.
see that every single one of those books are different books, different writers, different places, and there's multiple gods. So you've got the First Testament, or the Old Testament, and basically you have the God called Yahweh. And where did he
Which is the Jewish
originate
God.
from? And and then you also have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which are not really Hebrew names. So King James brought it in, and you've got amalgamation of a bunch of religions put into one book. Now, there's a lot of value in the book. I don't discredit the book. I've studied a lot of spirituality in order to connect with Source. And I think that is what's really important, is finding that connection with God, saying that, okay, I am happy with everything I have and grateful for everything I have in my life. The love I have for my wife and my children, and the air I breathe, and the vessel that's been given to me is the only thing that I have possession over. All of these other things, a fancy car, fancy house, and those things are just things. And my personal belief is that there's a cyclical pattern where on that cycle, there's a returning of the souls. And when the returning of the souls happen, those that want to remain here and protect everything that they have and all of these earthly possessions, they will remain here. And they could remain here. But what do you experience when you do remain here? What happened with the last cycle of people that remained here? And the last cycle seems to be 1902. 1902 was the Boer War, and I've dealt a lot in the history with 1902, where all the 127 countries having regime changes in 1-2 years. I mean, you
In
got to ask
1902.
yourself, what's going on in the world? Yes, 1902 is a very, very interesting year. So,
I mean, I'll double check. I think regime change happened during World War One, and mostly
yeah,
after that.
there were more after that, but 1902 was the reset date. That's when we lost the Boer War, then the crown, the queen died, the king died, King Edward, I think it was. What's it? 1902. There was regime changes everywhere. In 1910, you have all those companies listing. It's all the countries listing as on the New York Stock Exchange, and then also the Creature of Jekyll Island. Have you read the book?
Many years ago.
Griffin. Where they created the Federal Reserve, which basically every country that hasn't been part of that, like Libya, had to either be invaded by America in order to take over. They only make war with those that's not on their system, that's not part of the club.
Well, I mean, they didn't take over Libya in a real way. They just destroyed it for a variety of reasons. Gaddafi largely was a thug, let's be honest. I don't think he had the power that people say he had, like to upset the central banking system. I think it's largely bullshit. They took him out because it was useful to take him out for a variety of personal reasons.
Have you seen his interviews?
Yeah, of course. I can talk shit as well in interviews, my man. I can say whatever I want in interviews. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Look at the reality of life. He ran a country moderately well. That's much better then than now. That's for certain. Absolutely. I fully understand that. But he was taken out for a variety of reasons that are evil. I completely understand that. And I don't think it should have happened. But what power did Gaddafi have to sort of upend central banking in the world? None. Let's be honest with ourselves. Absolutely none.
If you're gonna
Neither
if you're
did
gonna go on the
Syria.
gold standard, if you're gonna go on the gold standard, you're going to hedge any fiat currency. So what's happened with the fiat currency in the last 230 years against the gold value? And
Yeah, of
then you'll
course.
see
No,
that gold is the canary in the mine. And for that, you've got to go follow the market sniper. Francis Hunt, he does market analysis, and he talks about all of the stuff openly, which is great. There should be more people like him around, trying to preserve people's wealth in this conditions that are on its way, where we have a banking collapse. I mean, here we are talking about 102 years ago. We're talking about waking up. We currently have the American government on shutdown. They're trying to release more funds in order to make back payments, trying to save the SNAP payment system, which 43 million people rely on, amidst a market where the fiat is busy collapsing. Money
of
is
course.
borrowed into
Everyone knows,
existence.
everyone
So
knows
when
that, yeah.
money is borrowed, yeah, but nobody knows the ramifications of it. People are still leaving their money in the bank.
Well, when there's no alternatives to save power, what do you expect them to do, right? What alternatives should they
Buy
go
gold,
to? That is as
buy
okay, cool. Let
silver,
me go to Walmart.
buy
Let me go to Walmart
platinum.
with gold nuts. Let's see if they accept it as currency. Of course they won't. Like,
Why
come
not?
on, that's like, well, go.
You
Maybe
can
they're
exchange your
smart.
gold. In gold has been the oldest trading asset in existence. The gold standard
Listen,
is by reason
I love,
called the gold standard because it
I love.
maintains the value of it. So now you
Sure.
have gold going from $35 in the early 1900s up to 4,400, and it's going to push up a lot more than when it is now. That it is now because nobody is busy buying the bonds. Your big bankers are not buying your bonds up in order to print more money. They're buying gold. So the market cap sitting, I think it's going to hit 40 trillion now. And we don't understand what a billion is. I mean, do you know how long a billion seconds is?
It's like 10 years or longer,
Like
21 years.
32
I saw
years.
it. There we go.
Yeah. So
I saw some.
a trillion is 32,000 years. I mean, we don't have concept in terms of these numbers that is being borrowed. And I think the only reason the banks have, or the country has been printing so much is they know that there's a time frame that these banks are going to close. And what position do you want to be in when that happens? Um, you know,
So I don't think they'll close. I think they'll
it
be propped up till the end of time. To be honest, listen, I think the bank system is as corrupt as you say, and I fully agree with you completely. Fiat currency is bullshit. It's fake. You only need 2% of the deposits to actually reflect in the account. You can loan out the other 98%. You're creating value upon value upon value based on absolutely nothing. And 2008 was the crisis that should have changed things. Instead, what they did is just consolidate all the banks, close all the small ones, and then printed even more money out of nowhere. I completely and fully agree with you on all of this.
so
It's a giant scam.
that started that started
Yeah.
in 1919. Well, after the Boer War, it was the debt bond of the Crown, which on the Peace Treaty of Vereeniging was a £6 million loan. And that's basically where it started. And we've been servicing loans upon loans until it goes from one system to the other system, but we're still staying in the trap.
No, I
And
agree.
yes, there's no easy system of saying, yes, this is going to solve the problem for everyone. Everybody's got their own individual problems. I can't say what's best for you as much as you can't say what's best for me. And that's why we need to think on an individual system, or not an individual system, but we need to think for ourselves if we want to create the future that we want or be in the life that we want to live. We are exactly
So,
where we want to be in the system that we want to be, or experiencing the life that we need to experience in order to fulfill the soul experience before returning. And whether that is uh, completing a cycle in this life or continuing on to another life within this realm before it ends. That's hypothetical.
All right. So
Uh,
we're coming into an hour. I'll let you
Already?
have the final,
Yes.
I'll let you have the final bite of the cherry. What are
Okay.
you can talk about whatever you want, but my question to you really is, how has your life changed materially, socially, psychologically, mentally, in whatever way you wish to describe it? How has your life changed once you have figured out what's wrong based on the claims you made, and most importantly, what the solutions are? Has your life changed in a material way since you have been on this road?
Yes, my life has changed completely. In the physical, I'm not attached to all my possessions and they don't possess me. Um, it has brought me a lot of gratitude and gratefulness and for everything that I have and I've been granted uh, in this life. Um, it's given me perspective of what is real, and it's not easy to change one's mind and one's perspective. And I was also a keyboard warrior. I was also telling people that I know it all, and I didn't. And since changing it, how did my life change? It changed for the better. I'm grateful that I can have a good relationship with my children and my wife. It has pushed a lot of people away because people don't like to hear the truth. They like to stay in their paradigm, and that's fine. People need to protect uh, their perspective if they feel like it's going to give them security. For those who can see it for what it is, those are the individuals and the souls that are um, growing and growing in community that will be able to be there for each other and not look for an external source to fix their problems for them. Um, it's been a rough ride. Everybody's been under psychological operation since the last 5 years happened, and I don't think anybody's actually dealt with it. Nobody's dealing with everybody being ill and supposedly what they're ill for, and it's difficult to see a lot of people suffer with that. But I have given my I've given up on trying to fix things, knowing that there is a divine path that will guide me, and it's my path to walk. Everybody won't understand it, but it'll lead me to where I need to go. Everybody's got their own path. Don't judge others for theirs. We've all been deceived at some point, and if you can find one thing in life, is to find love. Find that somebody that can love you and love you the same way back. That's the most important thing, and live in the present.
I cannot disagree with any of that, to be honest. Not in the slightest. This is one of the weirdest conversations I've had. I must be honest with you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I hope I wasn't
So,
maybe too aggressive or
no,
too interrupting, but I
not
like
at
just
all.
to get to what people actually believe, and then we can discuss that belief system. So I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm not here. I disagree with you on basically everything you said, except for the final 2 points.
Yes,
But at the end of the day,
yes.
this is what these conversations are about. It's having conversations with ordinary people about what they think, and this has been the best example of that. So this is what
Awesome.
I'm trying to achieve. Francois, thank you for helping me achieve it. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Roman. If anybody wants to go and follow on YouTube or whatever, Freeman, on my YouTube, I've got a lot of playlists there that points to a lot of the researchers that spent decades of their lives um, trying to show people the path of enlightenment. And I think there's a lot of value in it in order to not be deceived.
Fair enough. For those watching, thank you so much. I will link Freeman's notes, everything in the show notes. And thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think there'll be quite a few comments. But otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on Undercurrents. Have a great afternoon. Bye bye.